John, and I'm from St. Patrick's Church, but I heard about the Alpha course at St. Michael's, and then I got hold of my friend Amy Brown, and she told me that she was going to be doing Mary's Evangels. So I prayed about it, and I realized that the thing that makes me most anxious in life is being a mother. And if Mary could watch Jesus on his journey to the cross and be there for him, then I thought, well, then this is the course for me. Because I often say that God had a sense of humor, giving me a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old boy who are like the busiest, most active, accident-prone little boys you'll ever come across. But I do first want to just disclose that I haven't been as good as the rest of my group. So when Tinashe asked me to do this, my initial reaction was to say no, because I haven't said the rosary every day. So I just want to put that out there as full disclosure. The rest of my group has been amazing. But despite that, I have still found that it has been very meaningful for me on this journey. So sorry, let me just been going faster than what I. So the first time that I prayed the rosary properly was with the Sorrowful Mysteries, and at the time I imagined myself at each step along the way as if I was Mary and as if it was my son, and obviously it was a very powerful experience for me. But another highlight for me was when I read the virtue of trust. And I'm going to just read this particular excerpt from that virtue. It may speak to some of you tonight that may have read it quickly, and I was chatting to somebody tonight that actually was thinking it would be good to go back and read this virtue. So let me just read this excerpt for you. For now there is only one thing that is needed, to love God with all that we have and to love others as ourselves. If our day is spent in turmoil over tomorrow, our Father's will has vanished in the clouds of worry. Did our eyes rise to see the man sitting on the train? He was desperate for a kind help. Did our ears hear the Spirit prompting us to speak to our co-worker? Our worry literally binds God's hands, but every act of complete blind trust unties them, causing the best effect possible. For God can accomplish what no human being is capable of. It is when we truly release our worries to the Lord and rest our head on his lap in peace that he can work for us in the most glorious of miracles. So what I have not yet told you about myself is that at the age of 16 and 17, I conquered cancer. When I was 16, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and at the time I was completely unaware of the implications of cancer, but for me the hardest thing was just getting through the treatment. I had 8 chemotherapy sessions followed by 20 sessions of radiation therapy. And despite the discomforts and side effects of the treatment, God had placed me in the most supportive environment I could have ever asked for with my family, my friends, and my school at the time. It was therefore only 4 years after my diagnosis, when I was in second year varsity, that I truly understood cancer. When 2 girls from a year below me at my school died of cancer. Since I've had children, my fear of a recurrence of cancer has grown hugely. And not a year has gone by that I haven't had a scare. Sorry, I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this. Okay. Be it a dark spot under my foot, or a lump in my breast, or something along those lines. Of course, my mind would always leap to my greatest fear. Not about what will happen to me, but rather, should the worst happen to me, no one could mother my boys with the same amount of love that I have for them as a mother. At the beginning of last year, I met a fellow cancer survivor. One of the mums of a little boy in my son's class at Little Wash that had conquered breast cancer during lockdown. We instantly hit it off, and I even took on some of her work. In the middle of last year, she was diagnosed with advanced secondary spinal cancer. The mixture of emotions that I've felt over this past year, as I've followed this month's very difficult struggle with cancer, is difficult to explain. From sadness and guilt to feeling overwhelmed and uncertain of what I can do to help this mum. I needed to hear the talk by Deacon David on praying for the virtue that we struggle with the most, and particularly the story about Jesus' apostle Peter. I needed to be reminded of the moment when Jesus told his disciples about the way he would die, and Peter offered to take Jesus' place on the cross. Jesus' reaction was to say, "Get behind me, Satan, for it is not our responsibility to take away someone else's cross that God has bestowed on them." I needed to hear that Peter's diary was discovered after his death and told in it his high level of anxiety over himself and over the world. The deacon used this to remind us that if our greatest vice is fear, to pray for the gift of holy boldness. This right here was the true reason that I was called to do this course. I'm so grateful for the realization that God has chosen everyone's path, and that it is not my responsibility to take away another person's cross. I have prayed throughout this course for that mum with cancer and for the gift of holy boldness, so that I can be more open to God's will each day for me. Thank you to Nashi for organising this course. Thank you for your dedication and the time that you've so willingly poured in, not only to organise our meals and videos and talks each week, but also for the daily emails with the virtues and other information that you have sent to us first thing every morning. Thanks again.